Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining the Impact of Digital Technologies in Transportation and Logistics. A few housekeeping items before we get started. This is a recorded webinar, so if you do not want to be on a recorded line, please drop now. Also, we will be having a Q&A section at the end, so if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please enter them into the questions pane on the GoToWebinar menu, and we will get to them at the end. With that, I would like to hand it over to Chaitanya to get us started.
Thank you, Caitlin. Good afternoon, good morning to everybody. Just a little bit of an intro. My name is Chaitanya. We've shortened that to CK. And joining me today is Mike from Microsoft.
Good afternoon, good morning.
And what we're going to talk about today are what we are seeing as global trends and disruptive technologies in transportation and logistics, how the rapidly changing customer expectations are driving some of these trends, automation that could help logistics, specifically ideas around connected vehicles, and then how Nihilent's design thinking process can help you accelerate this digital transformation journey. So the three main areas that we see a lot of development in from a logistics standpoint is on the functional side, we're looking at hyperlocal and omnichannel connectivity, also looking at fulfillment, and especially now in the current pandemic world, there's always the interest of how do you fulfill deliveries for customers. To be able to help that from a technology standpoint, there's obviously the adoption of IoT sensors, there's the adoption of analytics, increase use of the cloud, utilizing cloud technologies, and then digitizing your supply chain. These are things that we are seeing as a big trend. From a geographical standpoint, we're also seeing a lot of interest in the transportation and logistics industry around the ability to trace back any items that were shipped from the source, be it something in the restaurant industry for a farm to table kind of scenario, or it could be some sort of a manufactured product, and being able to trace that back to what plant it was, what plant this product was manufactured in. So overall, there is a shift in how the digital technologies are impacting global trends in logistics.
And I would add, one concern that I hear is, how are these disruptive technology players, the new entrants into the market, going to impact this industry? You think about Amazon in the logistics market; they're coming to the table with deep coffers, potentially ready to buy the business at a loss, and they don't have a lot of the legacy debt. Let's say they've got a fresh perspective from a technology and a process. So what is the impact going to be there?
Yep, agreed. And so that kind of leads us into the specific technologies, right? And how these are helping logistics. So from an analytics standpoint, there is a need for providing a better customer experience with real-time information, providing visibility to customers in terms of where their shipments are, utilizing automation for processes that are repeated, processes that might need entering data from one system into the other, so something like invoicing and the shipping system, utilizing IoT sensors. A lot of this is related to, for examples like refrigerated trucking, or making sure that all the space in a container is being utilized. So there's a wide range of needs around either individual items being shipped for something that goes on a truck, something that might go on a ship, large containers that might get filled with individual items. So there's a very interesting use case for all different sorts of sensors that could be used for tracking and monitoring. The use of cloud technologies has obviously increased, and as a partner with Microsoft, we see a lot of interest in customers wanting to move to the cloud or leveraging the ability for a global scale of deployment for their software and technology. Digitizing the supply chain is something that's also been gaining a lot of demand, and obviously in the recent months, that's something as a digital transformation that a lot of companies have been forced to do, have been pushed towards to accelerate. And that involves a lot of work around managing safety, improvements in transparency, even something as simple as computer vision to not just look at what is being shipped, but also to look at our sanitizing protocols being followed, things like that. And then finally, the use of blockchain to look into how something or how a customer can be provided with some sort of a tracking and traceability into the products that they're buying, especially for food. So overall, that's what we are seeing as an impact of digital technologies and or how they're being utilized in the transportation and logistics area.
I would just say on top of that, you know, the data needs for this market are growing exponentially, and the necessity of cloud-based platforms, the scalability is a great fit to enable this market.
And so we've looked at a few use cases for logistics, right? One of the interesting pieces is how do we get started, or what are the use cases for digital transformation? And so our goal for this webinar, right, with the background that there is this digital transformation happening within the transportation and the logistics industry, and in some ways is being accelerated right now. As a partnership with Microsoft, we are looking at what could be some of the use cases that could be beneficial, and to look at how technology can be leveraged in those areas. So a few key areas that we've seen benefit are delivery optimization, predictive planning, bringing better value to customers, so through user experience improvements, turning the supply chain more intelligent, so utilizing machine learning and AI features into a supply chain. Building in real-time intelligence, this primarily revolves around a lot of work that goes in with IoT sensors, and then being able to look at what the demand and forecast is for any sort of shipping. You know, one of the interesting examples that comes to mind is very recently, as the pandemic started and as people went into panic buying mode, there was a big case of needing to ship products very quickly, but then typically as somebody in the transportation industry might make sure that all their vehicles are returning full or are being made the most use of and optimized. That is something that didn't happen, and there's obviously the whole need for we need to ship these products as quickly as we can. And so the ability to utilize technology to enable some of this forecasting is very important, and we think is definitely going to help a lot. So from an automation standpoint for logistics, a few key areas that we see benefiting are inventory management, supply and demand planning, purchase orders, freight, and invoice. And so essentially, the benefits between having to manually enter data from a shipping system into an invoicing system to generate a purchase order is something that you could easily automate with robotic process automation and RPA-like tools. And so from a Microsoft platform, something like Power Automate or the Power Platform in general is something that can certainly be extremely useful in saving time for some of these repetitive activities and being able to automate those. The ability to look at or monitor inventory and then being able to send out alerts or automate the process of alerts based off of what inventory is available in a warehouse and what needs to be ordered, or depending on vendors that could be bringing product into a warehouse, that's something that can be automated as well. Some of this does exist today. The need that we see, or as a future trend, what we see is the interest in being able to tie all of these processes together in a single automation platform and be able to analyze the data along with that information. So as from an inventory standpoint, as you monitor, do a continuous monitoring, which would help then in planning for supply, looking at what the demand looks like, being able to generate purchase orders based off of invoices and or processing purchase orders, and then being able to manage freight, to look at how to be most efficient at shipping goods or matching what is being shipped to the individual vehicles or properties like that. And we've got a few use cases and case studies that we'll talk about in these specific areas. So some of the success stories we wanted to talk about are work that we've done with some of our customers. And we'll start with this first one. And this was around the ability to collect data from a lot of trucks for a trucking company and be able to tie that information into performance KPIs for drivers. And then finally, being able to take this data, bring it all together, and allow a self-service reporting for the drivers. So this provides the ability for the drivers to look at how they're doing compared to their KPIs. And it's something that can be accessed easily on a mobile device or a tablet. So doesn't necessarily require a computer. Of course, a web-based system, therefore any device would work. The solution was based off of the Microsoft platform and utilizing the Azure Cloud Platform, of course, Power BI as the front-end tool to be able to visualize and interact with the information. Taking a little bit of a different route, we have another customer in TMC Transportation, and one of the key areas of work that we helped them do was to look at collecting historical data and then help predict areas where optimization can be done for maybe something like time that a driver has to wait for their trucks to get filled up? Or are there areas where there was a mismatch between what items were being transported versus what kind of vehicles were available for that transport, and much more. So we're just taking one example for this success story. The main, the key element of this entire project was the ability to use machine learning services within Azure and be able to develop a solution very quickly in the order of weeks to be able to start predicting what kind of parameters would affect the efficiency of a driver who was trying to transport um, something from point A to point B. And so we see a lot of benefit in leveraging some of the pre-built analytical models and some of the pre-built machine learning models to achieve that result. Switching gears a little bit, for a different customer, we had a challenge with this particular customer, All Cargo, to look at whenever there was a shipment order that came in. The challenge was to look at was the shipment being allocated correctly into um, either specialized boxes or specialized requirements for like temperature controlled shipping. And so Nihilent helped build a solution to manage all the documents that are attached to a purchase order or to a shipment. Then to be able to look at searching all that information fairly quickly to provide an easy status update to the customers, and then obviously to be able to optimize the shipping cost because of the ability to bring all the data together. So the key elements of this solution were to be able to tie multiple different technologies into a single platform, specifically for document management, for user experience, for web-based applications, to ultimately deliver greater value for customers. We've also worked with P&O in terms of helping them set up a center for monitoring and analytics of their shipments and their trucks and well, shipments, trucks, and the driver performance. And so there are two case studies here. So one part is the backend work for setting up an infrastructure that allows monitoring or an operations center that would monitor different shipments across the world. And then from there, being able to analyze this data utilizing a data warehouse and report off of that to improve operational performance. The other side of that same solution is using vehicle telemetry to look at where any given vehicle is, where any given truck is, and to be able to plan routes based off of either road conditions or any other additional information that's available. Also, the ability to then take information like a trip count, distance traveled, speed, things like that, and then be able to tie that into all the other information that P&O might have. Two interesting components to this are, one is the ability to have optimization of driver routes. The other is the ability to optimize insurance and to look at usage-based insurance models rather than traditional insurance for an entire trip. So the analytics that are performed are based off of the Microsoft Cloud Platform. And there is the ability then to look at all of this information for this customer and analyze that in a very effective way and utilize in the decision-making process. And then we've also leveraged a lot of IoT sensors and worked with a large customer for, in this particular case, looking at refrigerated transportation. The use case primarily revolves around the need for the dairy industry needing a consistent temperature-controlled transport. Now, within this transportation, if there are challenges with the refrigeration not working correctly or failing or whatever the case may be, we help this customer utilize sensors and be able to send this information in real time to then be able to decide whether they wanted to reroute that shipment or they wanted to cancel the shipment or if they wanted to do something else towards that shipment. And so one of the main areas and the benefits here is the ability to use information from multiple different sensors and to be able to use that information in real time via the cloud and then be able to make business decisions based on that data. And so these success stories and the work that we have done primarily is based off of our design thinking approach, where we look at, so from the left to the right, we look at how our customers and then therefore their customers are utilizing the products that are being built. So we want to get a sense of what the customer expectations are, how does a customer experience those products, so immerse into that journey, and then be able to define what those solutions would look like. So from a technology standpoint, then we would want to ideate on requirements that we've heard, ideate on aspirations that we've heard, and then be able to build in an iterative fashion and validate with our customers the solutions that we are building to be able to help them provide better customer experiences. From that process, the main focus areas that we look at are digital strategy. So the overall digital strategy that you might be following for an omnichannel experience, to improve your digital platforms, to improve your marketing, to improve customer self-service. On the data and AI side, then we would take this digital strategy and be able to implement things like customer analytics or for location intelligence or utilizing AI and machine learning algorithms, vehicle telemetry, and then automate processes for workflows, automate processes based on IoT sensor data, automate processes based on legacy systems and where manual processes are being followed. So with an underlying view of that business consulting using the design thinking approach, these are the main pillars that we engage our customers with. And then the services are focused around conceptualization or creation of new products and services, improving user experience, improving supply chain, and then integrating some of these technologies into other platforms. Primarily from a data standpoint, we've looked at a few key areas to execute the data strategy. So we typically will start with a data discovery process, identifying stakeholders, so we can translate some of these business requirements and some of the aspirational requirements that we've heard during our design thinking sessions into a technology roadmap to be able to help achieve those business goals. Of course, we'll look at what the KPIs are, what are the key metrics, And then what is the maturity level for data? So those are some of the key things that we would look at. And then from there, we would start looking into what sort of data management do we want to execute. So do we want to go the route of data lakes? Do we want to go the route of start with data marts or a data warehouse and then eventually grow from there? What is the data quality? What does the data quality look like? What kind of governance and adoption do we want to implement around it? And then utilizing the cloud analytics platform, we want to look at how do we provide these services specifically around machine learning, specifically around cognitive analytics like video, audio, even chatbots for that matter. How does that align with the business goals? And then finally, the ability for the user interaction or the customer interaction with visualization and automation of some of these processes, and then ultimately the improvement in customer experience, whether it's through a personalized dashboard, whether it's through a visualization, or if it's through self-service analytics. From a tool and platform perspective, of course, our primary platform that we work on is the Microsoft Cloud, Microsoft Azure Cloud. But within that, Azure allows a lot of different technologies to be incorporated, and you're not necessarily restricted to only one or the other. So from a standpoint of internal data sources, we usually look at something like ERP systems or Excel files, structured data, things like that, or unstructured data for that matter. And those can be analyzed using something like Azure Synapse, something like Databricks. If there are these tools from an IT perspective that are already being used, we can certainly leverage those, or we can look at building some of these new experiences. We certainly can also look at external data sources like a Twitter feed or social media to map some of the customer experiences to the data that's available, to look at something like sentiment analysis, but not necessarily just to say is somebody happy or not, but to look at how can their experience then be improved based off of what they're seeing. On the analytics side, of course, we leverage statistical analysis, we leverage machine learning, natural language processing, we leverage technologies like those. And then we also, obviously, from a deeper statistical analysis standpoint, focus on things like TensorFlow, things like Azure Machine Learning, Python, and Python being the more common language that's being used today for analytics. And then we can tie all of that together with utilizing Power BI, utilizing Power Apps or Power Automate. And of course, if it's something that, if there are different tools that somebody might be using, we can certainly work with those as well. So the slide kind of represents all the different tool sets that we could effectively run on the Microsoft platform. And if somebody doesn't have or doesn't have these tools that run on the Microsoft platform, we obviously have the ability to still help with the analysis and still help with leveraging all the principles for improving customer experience. So from an IoT standpoint, we also have focused on implementation of device frameworks, helping our customers with feature enhancements, taking this data and focusing on the analytics part of how do you improve some of the way maybe the data is being collected. Is there something that can be done towards improving the quality of that data, improving the quality of that experience that the user might have, the customer might have. And then, of course, we, as an organization, Nihilent also helps manage and support our customers in their journey for digital transformation. That also involves integrating with other systems, line of business systems, cloud hosted systems, ERP systems, things like that. And then finally, depending on where you are in your journey for Industry 4.0, we do provide consulting services around improving the organizational maturity towards Industry 4.0. It's evolved between 2.0 and more, and the latest number is obviously 4.0. So whether you're already practicing some of those principles, whether you're not there yet, if you're just starting out, we can help with all of those. From an automation standpoint, like we looked at some of the earlier use cases, there's obviously many different use cases around either processing of purchase orders or invoices or freight management and things like that. But to translate those into work that we can do towards achieving those results, we've focused on a few things, primarily looking at outcome-based automation. So we can help with proof of concept, we can help with challenges and recommendations around how some of these platforms could be implemented, and of course services to help implement solutions. We can also help with identifying what the best tool and platform would be for a certain automation goal, and then be able to develop some of these use cases or even develop some of these bots and help with that process to accelerate that growth. And all of that is primarily then tied together utilizing business consulting, so we can help develop a roadmap, a strategy, and then be able to implement some of these processes over a period of time. Now, to get started, what Nihilent has put together is are two different offerings. These can be combined as well if that's a need, but we've got two offerings that we've included, and the idea is for our customers to be able to get started with some of these digital technologies or some of these digital initiatives that they might have. So from an analytics and IoT standpoint, we have an offering that would help you build a proof of concept and be able to work with your team to get started or to look at future state of what that analytics looks like, or what the IoT implementation looks like. And then for the advanced analytics or the machine learning or AI component, we can do a similar proof of concept, obviously to look at what does the data look like today? Is that ready for analysis and predictive modeling? And then is that something that you're already doing? If yes, that's great. If not, then you want to start looking for how to get your team up to speed, and we can help with enabling that portion as well. So as a conclusion to get started, we want to focus primarily on helping you in a short time frame to look at how you can get started in some of these initiatives. And then finally, I just wanted to quickly cover a little bit about Nihilent. So now that we've talked about some of the use cases, trends that we are seeing, and the work that we've done, and how we can help a customer get started, a little bit about Nihilent. So we're a global consulting company. In the US, we're headquartered in Minnesota, offices in Dallas, Texas, California, and on the East Coast in Connecticut and New Jersey. And of course, as a global organization, the the global headquarters is based out of India. And as you can see on the map, we've got multiple other locations in Europe, South Africa, and Australia as well. So as a Microsoft partner, we've been working in the area of analytics for a very long time. And with some of these customers who we've worked with to help achieve their goals in the area of transportation and logistics, and help them transform or help them on their digital transformation journey, we are definitely excited to learn more about how we can help some of you in your journey, wherever you're at and whatever your future goals are. So, Mike, do you have anything you would like to add? I think
Yeah,
those are all.
No, thank you. And again, Microsoft on top of Nihilent's offering, we've got various programs where we're willing to co-invest in helping to drive your digital transformation. I think, hopefully these, wanted to share some success stories with one of our Azure expert partners. And hopefully those use cases resonated, and would love to look for ways that Microsoft can invest in your digital transformation.
Wonderful. Thanks, Mike. So with that, I think we'll transition over into our Q&A. So I'll stop sharing my screen, and if somebody has a question, we can certainly take those for the next few minutes. Or you can certainly follow up after the event as well. Feel free to send us an email, and we'll be happy to connect with you and see how best we can help.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chaitanya and Mike. Again, if you guys have any questions, please enter them into the questions pane on the GoToWebinar menu, and we can answer those as they come in. We'll just give it a minute. Hopefully, you guys have some good questions for our panelists.
So I think I saw one question around the technology and the platforms, and for our session today, we've tried to stay away from specific individual technologies, just so many names and individual product names don't cause confusion, but also to focus more around how our customers have benefited during the digital transformation journey. We can certainly provide more details or talk more about cases where you might have these questions, or cases where there might be an interest in terms of where you're at in your digital transformation journey, and things that you might need help with.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chaitanya. We do have another question that came in. They are asking about if you guys can talk about any emerging trends for India, the country.
I think we're seeing an explosion of sensor data, primarily from what IoT sensors can be used for, and the other interesting trend, I think, is use of more and more use of blockchain, or the ability to track and trace, or have some sort of a QR code on products being shipped, which can provide all the information for a product from its source to the final destination for a customer.
Great, thank you, Chaitanya. Any other questions for our panelists before? I think there is one more. Let me see. So conventional warehouse and transportation management versus the ongoing digitization highway.
Sure. So I think some of these terms are used interchangeably and maybe mean different things to different people. So the way we've looked at it is from the, if you will, the digital highway typically corresponds to the ability to share information effectively, quickly, and a lot of information, of course. There's obviously the component for a lot of sensor data and telemetry being collected as well. And the other side of it for a data warehouse, and this could be a data lake, what traditionally has been, ingest data and analyze data is now changing into store all my data in a data lake or store all my data in a single spot. And I want to be able to analyze that data as needed. So the way we've looked at it is the ability to have an underlying layer of data with appropriate security in place to enable that data exchange with either partners or customers or vendors seamlessly, and to make that and to have the ability to do so in a timely or a near real-time fashion.
I think if you look at cloud-based technologies in general, the ability to have a platform that scales, provides elasticity as your needs change over time to continue to grow and meet your business needs.
Wonderful, thank you guys. It looks like that was the end of our Q&A section. So thank you again, Chaitanya and Mike, for joining us on the presentation today. Great insights all around. And we will be sending out a link to the recording of this webinar. And again, as Chaitanya mentioned, if you have any other questions afterwards, please feel free to give us a shout out on our email. So thank you again and have a wonderful day.